in here.
Every test.
This is a problem. I need a rolling chair that rolls.
Anybody on YouTube can hear me right now. You gotta, yeah, I know it is. It says it's streaming right now, and the mic is very active.
That's creepy.
Yeah. One oh one, 103. Ever so close. Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I had to look and see what number I'm in because the numbers are different from when I was in here. I had 101. This was 103.
They changed it.
I know it's been. I know why.
My room was like 108, and now it's like 118. Why did they change it?
More for security, safety stuff.
Yeah, but were we just like not in order?
I don't know. We were down this hall, but I think your little addition is
out of order.
Was out. Well, no. Well, I'm sorry. Your old edition was a little out of order. And yeah.
Okay. Just fine.
Are you taking? Oh wait. Oh.
Back there.
She doesn't. Isn't that one back there?
No, we just like.
Oh, that one was.
Well, it's a lot. This one's smooth. There's lock on it. It's just yeah. It's like old government issues. I feel really bad taking it. And rolling that somewhere else and just. Three more weeks. I've already done that. Yeah, it's done.
Are you judging in here, sir?
So the hard part's done. I just gotta.
I don't know. You're probably doing therapy. I don't know.
I start that tomorrow.
That to me, that would be the hard part.
I know. I'm just gonna let you roll this someplace first.
No, back where it belongs.
Well. Yeah.
Or Kate can roll it to wherever she wants it.
I don't want it anyway.
Oh, okay, then I'll take it. I'll put it back
It's
on.
weird.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
I think this is actually Megan's chair, so I don't know why. Maybe it is. I don't know.
That was wrong. I'm not judging this. I was hurt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm not judging this time.
Okay.
I had the folder up here, Chris.
I got to go to Gennadi's at 6.
Okay.
But outside of that, I can.
I don't have anywhere to go. No, I was gonna be a little bit late if Katie had a game. I was just gonna be a little bit late, but she's not. I'm tired. I'm lying though. And I'm overall, in general, really good. Thank you for watching my video. After those 2 minutes, let me get out before the buses.
By the way, the mics are live right now, so be careful what you say.
You would be paid.
And the computer says it's streaming, so. Hi, how you doing? Good, good, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, because everything's digital.
Yes. Yes. We're all done. I know. And we got the cards too. They were excited.
On this year, it's out of order.
Let me see what you got.
When I say out of order, I'm just saying.
I forget where I'm on. Oh, yeah, you have a five, you have the 520.
Second award.
Oh.
I don't know, I thought that was extra.
You have the timer paper for me?
No.
I don't think so.
Miss Spence has it, if she does.
I don't think
Yeah,
I
you can
do.
get it.
Yes, I do.
Need,
Just
that is
kidding.
good information.
I thought I saw you had one when you were flipping through.
I did this, that's because I did
Sorry,
this.
I thought that would just kick me out of the presentation.
Welcome. Are you in here?
For one.
You need to be in here like all the time.
That's not
No, it's.
I've never done.
It should be on. They should be on.
The first one's like, you're gonna do
And if it's not on, I've got someone who I can send to you.
Okay, great.
Because computers are not my thing.
They're not mine.
I can send either Coach Ryder or Melena.
Hi, Milena, you wanna come help this old lady?
Melena will mess it up.
What do you do?
I'm his duster.
I'm just kidding, Melena. You're gonna do great too. Take notes, okay? Because Tesla's gonna show you how it's done.
You know, I need to watch all these to see what I'm doing.
Absolutely. Pick a project based on what they've already done. Take notes.
I think I know what I'm picking.
I'd like four backup plans. I'm not kidding. For 2 weeks, cancel. Have fun.
I heard that happens a lot.
It does. happened to like 6 of us in the Call of Duty. What happened to me, Sierra? You know me, Courtney.
Hey judges, make sure that you have entered 2143 for this session, because I think some of you guys have your 520 and your 5 o'clock backwards on your sheets. So yeah, this should be 2143. We still got 6 minutes. I have it in my hand. It's hot. There you go. You know how to put that on?
I'll figure it out.
Okay. Yeah, just put it.
Ooh, that's a little scary.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that.
Well, the judges have it on their sheets, but yeah, just like a minute ago, I remind them what number it was.
Okay, so we need to make sure that they're.
Yeah, the 520 is actually listed before the 5 o'clock.
Can I go ahead and hand these out?
You've got 3 judges that haven't shown. We'll put one right there.
Who else?
It's Tyler.
Don't I only have 6 judges?
You got 7. Oh, that's Rodriguez.
Oh, that's all right. Great.
What have you done as a judge?
At 5:20.
Oh.
Hey, look at your
This
second
is-
one. The 5 and 520 are out of order on their sheet for some
Okay.
reason. Are you in here?
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pass these out. I have cookbooks, which was what my project was, just so you guys can look at it before I start my speech. Are you a judge? Just so you guys can go ahead and start looking at it before I start my presentation. Thank you. There's an extra. Schmidt? Is in here? Okay. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just talking about
Good. I
my
just wondered
judge.
why you said that. Don't say anything embarrassing.
Oh, I'm probably going to say something embarrassing. It's okay, though. It's fine.
It was
just, I just shared it. Oh, no, I did. I went to share it with you, but you're already on there, so
Yeah,
I'll just email.
You go to file and email collaborators.
I'm going to hand this to you. I've been handing them out. These are my cookbooks that I made, just so you can look at them before I start my presentation. Yes, and I also have a Facebook page. I'll pick these books up at the end of my presentation, but if you looked at Tesla's Tasty Treats up on Facebook, there is a Facebook page. So
everybody, judges, you're in session ID 2143.
Mm-mm, I think I'm good. I can deal with a bunch of preschoolers. I can deal with this. It'll be okay. Yeah, is this the clicker? Okay. You can leave them on, turn them off, whichever. Do just the one. Leave one on. Like, keep this one off if you don't mind. Make sure. Okay, it's working. Oh. Okay. Are my judges ready? Is eating out better than eating at home? This has been a question that's asked by millions of Americans on the daily. Many Americans would say that eating out's better because of the fast-paced world we live in. We can pick our kids up from school, or if we have a list of things we have to do, we can just run to McDonald's or run to Subway or run to another restaurant, pick up a meal, and go home or continue with our list. While the other half would say that eating at home is better. This is due to the money that's being saved, the overall health benefits, and the connections. Hi, my name is Tesla Bucksbaum, and this is the dining dilemma that Americans face. To know more about this dining dilemma, we really need to look into the physical and mental effects of eating out versus eating at home. For some of the physical effects, 70% of America is overweight, 7% has actually been 9% has been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and 35.5% has actually been diagnosed as pre-diabetics. Also, the food that we're eating when we're eating out leads to lower metabolic functions. If you do not know what these are the functions within our body that transfers food to energy. If we're eating these foods that have such high saturated fats, high sodium, and high salts, these metabolic functions are actually slowing down, causing us to eat more. While when we're eating at home, we're actually eating more nutritious foods along with consuming less calories. Another big thing that comes to play with the calories is if we're going out to eat and we're spending money on a meal, our mind's automatically going to go into the idea that I need to eat all this food because I'm paying for it. While when we're eating at home, we cook this meal ourselves and we're able to let our minds go into, okay, I cooked it, I can just save it and eat it for later. Not only though are there massive physical effects, there's actually major mental effects. There's actually a 51% rise in depression when we're eating out. While there is also, when we're eating at home, a boost of serotonin because we get to take these ingredients that are nothing or these what we see as like not a whole meal and create it into a meal that we get to feed our family, allowing us to also get a feeling of self-worth. And this is because we're getting to create a meal for our family, allowing ourselves to feel good about ourselves because we got to help our family and support our family. Also, it brings people together. This is a big reason why people eat at home. This may not seem like it's that big of a deal, but it plays a big role in our kids' lives. If any of you have kids, you know it's important for your kids to be able to feel safe and come talk to you. When we're eating at home, this allows a safe space for our kids to vent. For example, at night, when you're at the dinner table eating with your family, a kid feels like they can vent or talk about their day and what's going on in their life. When this starts at a younger age, as they get older, they feel like they have someone they can talk to. They feel like if something's going on with their lives, they are able to go to their parents and they're not going to get judged and they're going to get the help. This actually leads to a lower drug abuse rate, a lower alcohol abuse rate, and a lower teen pregnancy rate. Sorry. Not only is there a physical and mental effect, but we also need to look at the health and safety concerns. In January of 1993, a father took his 2 daughters to a restaurant that was new in their town. They had hamburgers, fries, and milk. Not even 24 later after this incident and eating, the older girl was actually hospitalized due to constant vomiting and bloody diarrhea. While they were trying to figure out what was going on with the older sister, the younger sister was actually induced into the hospital with the same symptoms. This is because they had gotten E. coli. E. coli is a bacterial disease that people get from, a big thing is uncooked food, and they can also get from other things. These 2 girls had gotten E. coli. Luckily, they survived, but many people actually do not. According to the CDC, 128,000 people are hospitalized every year due to a blood-borne disease and a food-related disease. 9,000 of these people die every year. Also, we need to look at allergies. Allergies play a big part. By the time it takes you to brush your teeth in the morning, someone has been admitted into the hospital due to an allergy-related disease. Between 1.1 and 10.8% of the world actually has a food-related allergy, and this may not seem like it's a big deal, but these allergies can range from barely severe to a severe case. This can take people from even being, I know someone personally that if they're even around peanuts, they get hospitalized. And that may not seem like a big deal if you're not allergic to food, but for someone who is allergic to food, for example, he was a family friend, we had to keep our own separate pots and pans for when he was over and specifically mark them because if we had used anything, he was automatically hospitalized. And when you're eating out, you have no promises of no cross-contamination. You can tell them, oh, I'm allergic to this, and they can say, okay, we're going to make sure your food's not cross-contaminated, while they cannot promise 100% that your food's not going to be cross-contaminated. While if you're eating at home, you can 100% make sure your food's not cross-contaminated. Like I was saying, physical and mental and the health and safety concerns are a big deal, but we also need to see how money plays into this. It is approximately $10 to eat out. If you're taking, let's say, a family of 5, the average family size, and taking them out to eat, that's a $50 meal. That is a big amount when you're eating out. Restaurants charge a 200 to 400% markup rate on their food. That not only is a huge amount, but if we're using services such as Uber Eats or DoorDash, not only do we have to pay that 200 to 400% markup rate, we also have to pay for the services to use the app, the services for the restaurant to use the app, the tips for the dashers, and that 2 to 400% markup rate. That can take a $7 meal to being a $20 meal in a blink of an eye. While when we're eating at home, it's approximately half the price. It's approximately $5 to feed a family at home. That's taking that $50 meal into a $25 meal, where that other, as many of us know, that other half of that money can either be put towards bills or other things. It is approximately $3,500 saved yearly eating at home, and that's approximately $290 a month that's being saved. That money could go to bills, credit cards, card payments, or other things. Concluding my research, this led me to my project. For my project, I created a cookbook called Tesla's Tasty Treats. As you saw in the cookbook, this book consists of 36 recipes, but it also consists of nutritional facts and apps to help keep track. My mentor, Sherry Wiles, and I got together, and because to me it was a big thing that if I was doing this research on trying to make people healthier, I wanted to help people who didn't necessarily know exactly the ideas and the portions of how much they should be eating a day. And I wanted to include that so that they had an idea. And I also wanted to add apps that I personally myself used that I know helped me and several of my other people I know and associates that helped them keep track of their everyday lifestyles. I included a meal tracker. I also included a water tracker because to me that was a big thing that I wanted to make sure I included so people were able to use. Also, for each of the recipes, I added the nutritional facts so people weren't worrying about, oh, how many calories are on this and trying to figure it out. They had it right there in front of them. For my project, I was really trying to think of what I wanted to do for my product, and then I thought back to my love of cooking. I remember being a little girl in the kitchen with either my mom or my dad or my grandpa and just absolutely loving that one-on-one time I had with them and the connection that we were able to build through cooking. I wanted to help other people get this love of cooking throughout their lives and help them step into the kitchen and feel comfortable stepping into the kitchen. Another reason, like I said, why we eat out is time. People think that they need to spend so much time in the kitchen, they need to spend hours in the kitchen to make this meal when they don't. Majority of recipes actually for a full family take 30 minutes to an hour, which is about the same time it would take you to leave, to go get food, to come back and eat it. And I wanted to create recipes that were quick and easy to help these people know that they didn't have to spend a ton of time. Another big thing was easy recipes. Like I was saying, not only do they think they need to take a ton of time, a bunch of people think that they need to be these amazing chefs and think they need to know everything about how to cook before they can cook, which isn't true. If you can follow directions, which we all know how to do, you can cook and you can make a recipe. To me, that was really important to be able to have quick, easy recipes to get people who weren't comfortable in the kitchen the foot in the door and just feel comfortable making easy recipes. So I made things such as Nutella croissants, air fried Oreos, granola Greek yogurt, and cheesecake strawberries. You will not see any photos of me personally cooking any of these meals just because, yes, I had my love for cooking because I got that one time with my mom, but as I've gotten older, it's been a stress reliever to me. So when I'm in the kitchen, I do not want anyone else trying to help me or trying to be like there with me. So I kicked her out of the kitchen, and so she was not able to take any photos of me. But I started off my project in October. I created a Facebook page. Not only did I create this cookbook, but I created a Facebook page. As I told several of you as you came around and talked to me, I wanted to create an alternative solution for the people who either missed the time I ordered the books or for the people who weren't necessarily able to afford them. I had several people come to me and say, I really want a cookbook, but I can't afford one. And I said, okay, how can I solve this? And so I talked with my mentor and we decided helping create a Facebook page would help create this extra solution and a solution for the people who weren't able to make one. After I created a Facebook page, I sent out a Google form and got, got recipes from the community, and then I continued to bake and finalize my product. And that was between probably November and January. And in January, I sent out the order forms to get a pre-order, and then in March, I finally ordered the books, which when I got the books in, I was so proud of myself because I was amazed to see them and open the box, and I ran outside screaming to my mom and dad about them because I was so proud of myself. And so this may have seemed like it was a really easy project, but I actually faced quite a few challenges. A big one was Lulu Publishing. This is the website I used to publish my book and the company I used. When I first started this project, I thought I could just make it up on Canva, which is a website that I use to design my book. I thought I'd just be able to upload any kind of file and submit it and they take it. Well, that was far from the truth. I had to sit there after I uploaded it the first time and it threw up a whole bunch of errors saying, oh, wrong type of file, wrong trim size. So me and Sabrina Lee, the computer teacher, we sat down and we went through the website to try and figure out, okay, we need this type of file, we need it this size, we need it this certain details. And not only though was publishing and uploading it a big thing, creating the actual book. I probably spent about 20 to 30 hours just alone creating the book because I never realized how much effort went into creating the book because I had to make sure all of the pages were not either too crammed or too spaced out. I had to make sure all the font was the same and make sure all the colors were the same. Also with just creating the book and uploading it, I would upload it and then I would go to upload it and I get it uploaded and then someone would say, oh, like you forgot this in the book or this needs to be changed. I was like, oh, okay. So I go to re-upload it and then forget how I uploaded it. So I went through that probably about 20 times just trying to remember how to upload it. And then another big thing was finding recipes. Like I said, I wanted this to be a community effort with making this cookbook. So I got about probably 10 to 15 recipes from the community. But like I said, I had 36 in this book. So for the rest of those, I either went onto Facebook and went onto Google to find recipes to change and help create and take them kind of as a like baseline and ingredients, but create them so that I could create them as my own. Or I spent lots of time with family to get one-on-one recipes with them. I know my great-grandma sent me probably 10 because I was like, Grandma, I need help. And she's like, okay, here you go. So like I asked you in the very beginning, is eating out better than eating at home? I personally believe, and I hope you all believe after this presentation, that eating at home is better because we not only get to save money, but we get to build better connections with our friends and family, and we just have better overall health. I remember being a little girl, 5 or 6, in the kitchen with my mom, so excited to be able to help my mom make brownies or create a meal for my family. And I hope you all get to enjoy that same amazing feeling. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions?
You're not planning on doing any more cookbooks, or like have you thought about doing Amazon or anything?
I don't know, probably not, just because I want to really focus on going into teaching because I interned and I A+, and that I originally thought about doing cooking as a career, and then after doing this book, I changed my mind and decided I was not going to do that because that took a lot of effort. But I want to kind of focus more on teaching, but I do want to keep up with the Facebook page, and as I find new recipes that I like or create new recipes, I will still upload them onto the website, but I don't think it's going to be necessarily, it's going to be more of a hobby and a side thing than like a main focus. Any more questions? Tesla's Tasty Treats. Yes. Probably my mom. Just because I always remember her always being like, okay, come in the kitchen and help me. And then I just slowly remember the more like I enjoyed it, the more I just like jumped in there with her and was like, hey mom, like I want to help you. And she just was always really supportive through me. And if I was like, mom, get out of the kitchen, I'm trying to cook this recipe, she'd be like, okay, I'm just trying to help, but okay, I'll leave. And it's always just been like that. And she definitely has played a huge part throughout my entire life. No. So I know some of them I cooked and then I wouldn't like, or I'd have someone else try them and they'd be like, oh, well, I like this, but change this. And so I'd remake the recipes again until I found one I liked. And in the book, all the recipes that you see like have photos. I probably made 27 out of the 36 recipes. So I definitely had to do some of them a couple times to try and figure out certain sizes or certain, I needed more of this or needed less of that.
If you had to suggest one recipe to cook with, say, a 13-year-old, which recipe would you pick out of your book?
The Nutella croissants. The Nutella croissants. Those were super easy. You just take croissants, put about a tablespoon of Nutella on them, roll them up, throw them in the air fryer at 300 for 10 minutes. And I brought those to school, and they were I brought probably 26 of them to school, and they were gone within 5 minutes. And so those were a huge hit between anyone who tried them.
Was that your favorite recipe, or did you have a favorite?
I mean, I really liked it, but I did a bacon, mozzarella, and Swiss bacon and mozzarella sandwich that I really liked just because I really liked it. So, but probably for the desserts, that or the air fried Oreos were really good. Thank you.
Thank you.
How are you?
I know, right?
I don't know. Ask Mr. Reiner.
Where'd I put it? Okay, here. Oh, I need the clicker. The clicker.
Your session ID is 2146. Right spot.
No. Will it be easier to see the board if the lights are on? Okay, that's okay. Yeah. Okay. Are my judges ready? From a young age, I frequently received this question: are those your real mom and dad and brothers and sisters? I always replied with the same answer: yes, they are my real parents and siblings, just not biologically. This is a common question an adoptee receives growing up in a transracial home. My name is Claire Clarkston, and while non-traditional families come with struggles within child development, they could still prove to be caring and valuable support networks. Throughout the course of my life, I have noticed the many different families that my friends and peers come from. I am intrigued with the way they carry themselves and how they interact, which leads me into looking into the various family structures of those around me and the effects it has on their development and growth. I was adopted at the age of 8 months, and I have been blessed with a supportive family. Fortunately, I have had no difficulties throughout my life in my education or development of my interpersonal skills. So I wanted to look into the other aspects of non-traditional families and the effects that they have on child development. Now, before I explain why the structure of a family determines the character of a child, let me provide some examples of common family arrangements. The most common non-traditional family structure is single parenthood. This includes divorce, which results in a dependent child living without the presence and support of an adult partner or spouse who is responsible for sharing part of the parenting. Children may also be left to live with a grandparent or relative as well. From the year 2005, 1 in 12 marriages have ended, and on top of that, 40% of couples never reach their silver anniversary of 25 years. Financial crisis plays a big role in marriage as well. This is when love starts conflicting with money, because money can become one of the most important and disruptive issues in divorce. According to statistics by U.S. Census Bureau, more than $50 million in child support payments were unpaid in the year of 1997. Subsequently, more teens are being forced into the after-school labor market, trying to take care of a larger share of their own expenses or contributing to their family's basic needs. While the notion of one's parents splitting up is frightening enough, there is the other fear of what will happen to the child when the mother or father leaves. This leads me to talk about father-abandoned families. Studies show a rise in violent crime correlating with the rise in families abandoned by fathers. Since the structure of a family strongly assists in determining the character of a child, a broken family predisposes them to criminal activity. They may face rejection, have a more difficult time in school, and are inclined to participate in gangs. A professor of criminal justice at State University in New York, Kevin Wright, confirms that children rejected by parents are among the most likely to become delinquent. This rejection and abandonment may cause the child to release their feelings through antisocial or delinquent behavior. Therefore, they have a greater difficulty forming friendships with other children. Another common non-traditional family arrangement is transracial adoption. Transracial adoptees often experience behavior problems with their adoptive family in regard to appearance or cultural heritage. The resemblance talk of comparison of who the child looks like is a common discussion among families. This promotes a sense of personal identity or belonging to one's family. Children who grow up in transracial homes often suffer from severe identity crisis. This is the loss of identity confusion, or dealing with others' identity expectations. Research shows a Korean adoptee saying, "I often think about my birth parents and what life would have been like if I hadn't been put up for adoption. I don't know if I have any biological siblings, and I don't know my family health history." A great percentage of transracial adoptees deal with discrimination, prejudice, and racism, which all fall under the most common category of ignorance. Studies show an adoptee saying, "I spend a lot of time addressing uninformed notions about adoption, having white parents and a non-Asian last name." Another adoptee received comments of people being rejecting or not accepting, or exclusion and marginalization. It's so common for people to come up with numerous preconceived ideas about someone simply based off their ethnicity. Throughout my research, I realized that a family isn't just created through love or through blood or genetics. It can simply be formed through people who love and care for each other unconditionally. So while creating my project, I knew I wanted it to be family oriented, but I wanted to display the idea that a family doesn't just have to be by decree. So I hosted a trivia event. This gave the opportunity for people of all ages to form a group together with who they would have a good time competing in a trivia game with. And the idea was to find people who had a good knowledge of different categories for each team. For example, it was a smart idea to have someone who was good at science and another who knew a lot about movies. The game consisted of 6 rounds, 10 questions, and 1 minute to answer each question. The categories were sports, pop culture, music, movies, science, and miscellaneous. And at the end of my game, there was a bonus challenge, which gave each team the opportunity to gain some extra bonus points to advance their score. It was called the Reindeer Balloon Pantyhose Game. Each team received 25 balloons and 1 pair of pantyhose, and I had 4 minutes to inflate the balloons and stuff them into each side of the pantyhose to create reindeer antlers. And by the time the 4 minutes were up, they had to volunteer 1 member from their team to put the pantyhose on their head to lock in their points, and if they didn't do so by the end of the time, then they were disqualified. I had 2 groups make reindeer antlers up to 4 feet tall, and I had 9 teams participate in total. One of the problems I faced was I unexpectedly got COVID a week before my event, which is the most important time before. It's when I have to get my last reservations in for each team who wants to join and make sure I have enough supplies like balloons and pantyhose for each team. I also had to send in my last emails to make sure I could get into the auditorium and make sure the screen and the sound system worked properly and that they had proper cords to connect my laptop to that. And if they didn't, I had to order them online in advance. Another problem I faced was public speaking. I was only prepared to speak on stage to introduce myself, explain how the game worked, and to thank everyone for coming. But I ended up reading off every question throughout my event and the answers at the end. So I spoke through a microphone throughout the entire time, but I quickly overcame my nerves within the first round. I figured after persistently having to speak in front of my friends and my peers and some of my teachers for 2 continuous hours, I can now speak in front of anybody with no worries. I'm inquisitive when it comes to exploring human social relationships, and I enjoyed improving my knowledge on the various family structures of those around me and the effects that it has on child development. And in my youth, even though I constantly had to inform others that my family is my real family, I've always been well educated and familiar with inclusivity given the opportunity of growing up in a transracial home. Even though children may face certain challenges growing up in a non-traditional family, these are valuable to their development. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions?
You obviously overcame your problem with COVID and was able to do the event. Did you have to postpone it or?
Nope, I didn't postpone it. I just had to do all of that within like 2 days before my event.
Who won?
I can just go back to my pictures, and there was a whole group of staff members, but the group of 3 high schoolers actually won the whole thing. Yeah. I think the most challenging part of this was I knew I was going to prepare to have a lot of teams join, but it was getting them all, like I said, getting the reservations, because I had teams calling me within a day before my event asking to join after I just made my last trip to the store to get all my supplies. And then I also had a team text me that night before my event, so I had to run and get some more supplies for that.
Did anybody challenge the questions? You know, like.
I think if I can think of the only question that was challenging was I had a question about Harry Potter movies, and I didn't specify that it was the original Harry Potter movies, but that was the only question that people had confusion on. But it was easy to just tell them it was just the original ones. So.
What was your favorite part of the whole process?
Easily the bonus challenge at the end, when everyone had to put the pantyhose on their head, because that was the funniest part.
Where'd you get the idea from for the pantyhose?
Well, actually, when I was looking through a photo album like a couple months ago, I saw a photo of my mom with the pantyhose because she was with her like high school, college friends doing that. And I thought, I was trying to think of a good game that everyone could participate in from like a huge age range. And I thought that this would be funny. And I think everyone could participate in it and everyone had a lot of fun doing it.
Great, thank you.
Yes, I'm done.
judging this one? Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually supposed to be here now.
Oh, I see your computer. I didn't see it.
I messed it up a minute ago. Melena got me straightened out.
Good. That's what we have her for.
She gotta be good for something. So many things. What I meant to say, so many things. Paperweight. She holds down chairs well. Fast.
Everybody else is here.
Oh, just another person.
Mm-hmm.
You like the front one? Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That we were waiting on.
Hey, everybody is in session 3148. This is Kylie Cox. How did you hear about your presentation? So take it ahead.
Are my judges ready? Many people would associate the word sports with young athletic people playing competitively in their prime. However, this is an imperfect definition. There's another term known as lifetime sports that can be played for the entirety of a person's life. Hi, I'm Macaulay Cox. Participation in lifetime sports promotes physical, mental, and social benefits that can improve the quality of life for an individual as they age. Tennis can be played competitively or just for fun for people as they get older. Knowing this, I have played tennis all throughout high school, and I will continue to play as I get older to remain active and healthy. As tennis has been a very important part of my high school career, I knew it was something that I wanted to incorporate in my senior project. My dad would be the main reasons that I chose this topic. In 2014, my dad was offered the head coaching position for the girls and the boys high school tennis team. Once he accepted this job offer, me and two of my other sisters started trying out the sport. Once I continued playing the sport, my love for it just started to grow. My love will continue to grow as I get older and as I continue playing the sport. Although tennis is not the only lifetime sport that can be participated, they all have the same benefits for a person. One of the more obvious benefits that comes from participating in a lifetime sport would be the physical benefits. Physical activity of any kind can keep a person healthy throughout their entire life, and they are said to have a higher physical fitness later in life. People who participate in a sport when they are younger are said to be more active as they get older. When a person participates in a sport for a long period of time, it can help them stay healthy. The healthier a person is, the less health-related problems they might have in the future, such as heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and other things. As well as this, it can help with a person's blood pressure, and it can help a person gain more muscle. This can help improve weight loss. Although some people would say that participation in the sport can be dangerous for a person and can just not be as beneficial, but in the end, the longer you participate, it can just help your physical body more. Although the physical side is very important, it is also important for a person to have a good mental health. Mental health is broadly defined as a state of well-being where a person realizes their own abilities, can cope with the common stresses of life, can work in a productive manner, and is able to contribute to their community. There have been many studies done that prove that participation in a lifetime sport people who participate in a lifetime sport have a better mental health than those who don't participate in a lifetime sport. When you participate in the sport, then you have better psychological benefits. This means that you can be happier. The happier a person is throughout the day, the less stress and anxiety they might have by the end of the day. This also leads not only respect for themselves, but respect for their teammates, their coaches, and their opponents. These children that participate also end up having a higher self-confidence and self-esteem. By the end of this, then they might end up having a better life satisfaction in their future. Some children or even adults would say that they have a worse mental health when participating in a lifetime sport, yet this is true for some people, but in other cases, the more you participate in the sport and the more you get comfortable, the better your mental health might be. With the physical and mental side, it is also important for a person to have a good social life. When you join a team with new people, then you gain better social skills. When knowing these new people and gaining these social skills, then you gain new friendships with people that you might not have met. When you gain these new friendships, then you feel like you belong. When you feel like you belong, you end up having fun and want to keep participating in that sport. Some children are scared of joining a new team and meeting new people, but this leads to them getting out of their comfort zone. When you get out of your comfort zone, it's better for you in the future and can you get ready for you to meet new people in life. Dr. Kendall Clarkson is an internal medicine doctor as well as a former college athlete. While studying medicine in college, he was also participating on the UMKC college tennis team. I did an interview with him and got his opinion on each of my points about how physical activity is beneficial to participating in a lifetime sport is beneficial to a person. I first got his opinion on my physical side. Dr. Clarkson stated that participation in a lifetime sport can keep a person active throughout their entire life. It can help with people who have diabetes, people who are obese, and can even help a person sleep better at night. Along with the physical side, I got his opinion on the mental side. He said that the longer you participate in a lifetime sport, it gives the person a chance to relax. And he said anything that a person does that can distract them from the hardships in life is very beneficial to their mental health. Like I said earlier, Dr. Clarkson was on the UMKC tennis team. He said that he had avenues into different friendships of people with different majors that he probably would not have met if he had not joined this tennis team. As tennis has been the main lifetime sport that I've been talking about here, I knew I wanted to incorporate that in my product somehow. Since I've gotten into high school, there has not been a lot of stuff done for our tennis program, so I knew that this would not only benefit the high school tennis program, but it also benefit the community, since these are technically the community tennis benches that sit on the tennis courts. As well as this, my dad has also mentioned him wanting this to be done for a while, so I knew that this would also help him and his tennis team along in the future. So for my product, I decided to redo the benches that sit on the tennis courts. There are 7 benches in total, and some of them are a lot worse shaped than others. So I first got together with my mentor, Mark, and we got together and we mapped out a plan for what we wanted to accomplish by the end of the project. We started off sanding the benches on the courts. Mark soon realized that this would be a problem in the future if it had rained or snowed, so we'd have to move the benches somewhere else. I then thought of an idea of taking the benches to my dad's church basement. Once I got permission from him to do so, I loaded them in Mark's truck and we took them to the basement. We laid tarps down on the ground so it wouldn't make much of a mess and it'd be an easy cleanup. Here we continued the sanding process. We used a belt sander and this was a very time-consuming process. It took a lot more effort than I would have originally thought. Mark had left some of his tools in the church basement and allowed me to work on it by myself at times if he was ever out of town or sick. So we sanded 5 of them to start with, and we left 2 of them to the side because they were in a lot worse shape and we weren't exactly sure what we wanted to do with them. So once we finished sanding 5, I then started the staining process. Mark had already had a stain in his house that he allowed me to use, so I just went ahead and used that on the benches. Once we finished staining all of them, we then went back to the other 2. We were debating if we wanted to just rebuild 2 new ones or if we were just going to completely refurbish them. In the end, we didn't have the money or the tools to rebuild 2 new ones, so we just went ahead and did a lot of extra work on those 2. And we finished sanding and staining and replaced a couple boards on those 2. But in the end, after we finished sanding and staining all the benches, there was not much of a difference between any of the benches. And I'm very proud of how they turned out. Although my project turned out pretty good, I did have a couple challenges along the way. One of the main challenges I thought I had was coordinating time with my mentor. We had both had pretty busy schedules and it was really hard to make time between each of us. He was always out of town a lot and he got sick a couple times, but like I said earlier, he left some of his tools in the basement so I could work on it by myself. Even though we had plenty of hours together and we finished them on time. Along with this, I have never taken a woodshop class or done anything with woodworking, so this was a new challenge for me and I learned a lot in the process, but Mark was very patient with me and helped me fix my problems and taught me a lot that I needed to know. Engaging in a lifetime sport can have physical, mental, and social benefits for a person. Any lifetime sport that a person participates in can help them for their entirety of their lifetime. Knowing this, I'll continue to play tennis as I get older, as long as I'm able to. I highly recommend that any person tries out a sport that they want to, and it will help them in their future. With the physical and mental attributes, as well as the improvement of a person's social life, it can help a child grow from their childhood and get ready for their future. There is no age limit for a person bettering their mind and body. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions?
You started playing tennis in middle school?
Yeah.
Is there any other sports that you participated in?
I grew up playing, I did swimming, I did softball, volleyball, basketball, tennis, a lot of things.
So, I guess so my question would be, how has that helped, has that really helped you socially with?
Oh, for sure. I feel like I got a lot of friends from participating in these sports. I would probably not have the same friends I have now if I didn't play in those sports. At times, yes. It was way more time consuming than I originally thought, but I did eventually enjoy it in the end. I got to spend a lot of time with Mark too, which is always enjoyable. So.
And then I looked and I saw Kindle in the back, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I swear you said all that. I have it recorded.
That was classic. You gotta.
Very nice. Thank you.
You what?
Your last one. You just finished your last project. Are you like? Thank you.
Oh, it's okay.
I didn't forget him. I didn't forget him. It's just been a bad day.
It's really heavy. Very heavy.
Kyle, anything to do it.
Ethan.
Well, he has.
Oh, he's got another. He's got another presentation. Go watch the presentation.
We're like, where's the
we're taking it.
I wouldn't have had shoes.
Yeah, he still in Michigan. And so he always traveled. So he brought it down.
I will use that next time I do a presentation for Rotary or someone. Thank you for telling me. It's a wonderful program. I was like, Ryan should be right here.
We've been doing the one in the middle, but you do the one that.
I think the front would look better. Since I have a black and white one.
Perfect.
So,
Yeah.
You can look on the screen and see what it looks like up there. And yeah, it doesn't matter how, if I can see it or not.
If you turn the heat down.
I know, it is a little warm.
That melting, that little thing right over there on the wall. Okay, if you don't mind. Sorry, I'm hot.
I'm gonna cover up my the more people who actually get the response, typically more than
This is being recorded.
we'll be wearing masks. It is hot right now. Whatever you say is being streamed right now.
Alright. Alright, thank you. What?
Are you kidding? Are you kidding? I know he's used to it. Is it distracting?
No,
Can I take pictures while you?
I don't care. I'm good. Well, in my trifold, I did have a Chromebook. You're taking up that space with the video playing. I just. Thank you. Yeah.
Is it gonna show or?
It won't. I can show it to you after the video, if you guys want to. If you don't like it, it's okay.
No, no.
Mine, I've got 5:59. Do you want to go ahead and, get this show on the road here, or do you want to wait till 6?
I can get it on now.
I mean, if everybody. Ryan Kohler, and we're excited to hear his presentation. Ryan, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Are my judges ready? Okay. First, I want to start off with success there are different varieties of success. Anyone can be successful. You don't have to be well known to be successful, and you can be a nobody to be successful. But it's all your idea of what success is. And with this being said, I am going to read you a quote by Pele, who said, "Success is no accident. It is hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrificing, and most of all, a love of what you're doing or learning to do." With this all being said, I'm going to show you my senior project called Promote Your Own Success. What is success? As I said earlier, success can be a variety of things. Getting a job promotion, being a good son, getting a good grade on a test maybe. In someone's eye, it can be anything. And with that being said, anyone can be successful. You don't have to have a big last name, a lot of money, or you may not even be known. You may not have any friends, but you can still have that success and that determination to be successful. Privilege. Privilege and success are two different things that I want to talk about. Privilege is something you are born into, and you can work for privilege too, but most people are born into it with a big last name, a lot of money. And my belief in this is you cannot be born into success. You have to work for it or achieve it by working. And you can have one without another. With like privilege, you can have privilege and success, and success without privilege. Some of my research that I did was statistics of people being successful from broken homes, poverty, or bad neighborhoods, the celebrities who did it, and how they achieved it. Poverty is a well-known thing around Willow Springs and surrounding towns, as we are around here is low income. A lot of people are, and that just sort of strikes a thing with me as being successful, as there are many successful people in these towns, but there's also a lot of people who are in broken homes. They don't have maybe single parent, low income. Like even at Willow, you have free lunches, free food bags on the weekends. And the good thing is people get help, and this helps them, maybe not worry about when they're going to get their next meal, so they can have something to look forward to into the weekend or maybe the next day. And some kids see this and still don't want help because they see it as something normal, as maybe their father or their mother or their friends and family aren't getting the help, and they just want to be like them. They don't want to, be different from their family. And some notes like this who made the difference of being a better person, changing the cycle of being in these broken homes, poverty, low-income houses. And my main one is Mark Wahlberg, as when he was a young teenager, he was actually caught selling drugs, and he was put in jail for assaulting a young teen and was spent 45 to 90 days in jail. And with this, he changed as he built a relationship closer to God, and he learned that he can be so much more than what he is now. And with that being said, he is now known as one of the most famous celebrities, movie stars. He's even been on multiple magazine covers for having such a great body and all this. And it really strikes me as he didn't grow up with a lot, as he was selling drugs and doing drugs. And then my next celebrity is LeBron James, as his background was sort of like Mark Wahlberg's, as he was raised by a single parent. He moved multiple times. He lived with his coach for his junior and senior year during high school, as his mom was never home because she was working 2 to 3 jobs trying to provide for him and moving him out from house to house to give him the best possible situation he could be with. And this sort of gave him the mindset to push himself to give something his mother never had, as he is now known as one of the best basketball players, multi-million-dollar, making way more money than any of us probably will ever. And next is David Goggins. He also was like LeBron James, single parent household, where he even saw his own father or stepfather get brutally murdered in front of him. And this changed him, as he felt as a sense of he couldn't do anything to help, as he was too young to help stop this from happening. So it really set him back and changed how he wanted to work hard so nothing like that could ever happen to him or someone that he loved again. And next I want to talk about the sacrifices they all made. They all sacrificed time, a lot of time, to be who they are now. They had to give up friends and their health, like LeBron James pushing his body to an extreme limit to where he is, cramping, sore. He doesn't want to do it anymore. And relationships and immediate desires. With my immediate desires, that's like going out to the party on the weekend or go drinking with your friends, something like that is only going to be fun for a short time and not a long-term thing. And another similarity is they all have the same mindset of getting the job done and being different and just being determined to change. But my big one is promotion. As you all know, they have all been in several ads, and they all have different sponsorships. Like LeBron James, he has his own shoe. He is sponsored by Pepsi. David Goggins has his own books, been in multiple magazines for a motivational speaker. Mark Wahlberg's been in multiple movies, ads, commercials. And with that being said, all this advertisement, roughly $781 billion was spent in advertising in 2022, which that is an outrageous number to me, seeing that that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And with this advertising, I did a commercial for Bailey's Chevrolet down in Willow Springs. My steps were first, I got drone footage and outdoor footage of the facility. As right now, I'm just flying the drone around, seeing like where Bailey's is located by town, country, and on the road, and just showing you what the facility looks like from the upwards view and where all the vehicles are and all that. And then next, my second step was getting indoor footage and facility film, such as as getting pictures of inside and videos of people working inside in different facilities, such as him working in the tire center where he was changing oil and doing stuff. And this was inside the building where they have offices and trucks shown. And my third step was recording a voice recording with John Bailey. This was a more difficult part as he had to sound crisp. It can't have a long pause or a stutter in it, and this took very long because everyone has problems speaking sometimes, especially with a mic on you, as that he would get not nervous, but just have a slip up. And then finally, I edited footage and added music. This one was difficult, but it just was very time consuming. And next, my challenges. Editing was the big challenge, as it took a lot of time and it was hard to find good lighting as Bailey's has all those big windows in the front. So some of my clips don't have the best lighting, but I just had to go with it because the windows are hard to adjust the lighting because of the sun. And putting the clips together, as in if I was to put a transition in the video, it would maybe delete some of the video on the end of the video to put the transition in, and maybe that's something I wanted in the video. But it also taught me a valuable lesson of how to edit, just in case in college, if I have to make a video like this, or if I want to go into this further on down the road, it taught me how to edit. Time management was the next big issue, which is a big excuse that most kids use. But as me being a 3-sport athlete, it's hard to find time as I'm getting home late from practices and late from working out and stuff like that. And on the weekend, I'm either resting or I'm on college visits. But it also taught me a very, very beneficial lesson as put things that are important first. Don't procrastinate the important things. You can wait back a little bit to play the Xbox or play the game to get your work done. And next is my technology problems. As first, I had to download all the files onto an SD card so I could load it from computer to computer. But what I didn't know is that you had to download the files on the drive and not the computer. So I accidentally downloaded the pictures and video footage onto our home computer and not to my drive. So that took a lot of time. It took almost 2 days to download all of it. So that was a rough stretch. And these two sort of pair together, my clips not loading and internet issues, as we're in rural Missouri. You don't have good internet. It's a known fact. But the clips not loading, I had to be patient with it. And finally, weather. With Missouri, the weather is different every other day. It'll be cold someday, foggy, rainy, sunny, sometimes even snowing. As my first part of the year, it was a lot of rain and a lot of fog. But during the second half, when I had to get my indoor footage, we had the big snow, and it was hard for me to leave my house as I drive a tiny little Chevy Malibu, so it does not handle very well on the roads. And I did not want to be stuck, as my past 2 experiences in the cold, I have had my battery has died, and my mom gets very mad at me when that happens. Okay, with that all being said, success is various things. It doesn't have to be getting money or something. It can be an intangible. It just has to make you feel good or make you feel well or proud that you got the job done. And with that being said, I'm thankful for all you guys listening to my speech. And do my judges have any questions?
We gonna go into advertising maybe?
No, I don't know yet. I'm going to college, and I plan to go into exercise science and have a gym and have kids go there, work out, get my personal training license and stuff like that. Yes. If you want to. It's just a little 2-minute video.
Hello, folks. This is John Bailey from Bailey Chevy GMC in beautiful downtown Willow Springs. This business has been around since 1946. That's 75 plus years. I've worked here for 35 years. Bailey's has everything you need and more. We have a great selection of new Chevrolets and GMCs. Even a better selection of pre-owned cars. We have great customer service after the sale. We want to help you find the best option for you and your family. There's a brand new service center addition we just recently had the grand opening for. We're located at 720 East Main Street. Our phone number is toll-free, 888-517-7321, or locally, 469-3111. We're open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., 6 days a week. So give us a call or come down for all your automotive needs. And remember, the Bailey factor means we provide more wow moments than other dealers by working harder for your business. See me, John Bailey, or Derek Frederick, Ray Everett, or Jeremy Combs at Bailey Chevrolet GMC. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, I did, but he did add some of his own. Any more questions? Thank you.
That's all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
I mean, unless you just want to wear it around.
Steal it.
Sorry to pick on you.
Who's the timer? Yeah. Yeah. You good?
I can get up on one leg.
You take care. I'm sorry I missed your girl playing. The only middle school game I got to go to.
I know, I was like,
That was it.
that's amazing. That's okay though.
I was like, where's she at? So I said, you guys had something? going
Yeah,
on?"
we happened to have, that was an added game and it was like the one time we had plans. Yeah, right, absolutely. Nice job, Ryan. You can come in. Good whenever you're ready.
Just go to the WillowSpringsBears.com. Or no, Willow Bears.
Yeah, he wants lunch over there, so we're good. I'm good.
One door down.
If we could turn the front lights off, that'd be great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Josiah Smith, can't wait to hear your presentation, Josiah.
Thank you.
Take it away.
Are my judges ready? All right. So I would like for all of you to imagine as if I took a piece of hair from my head and held it from you 30 feet away. This is about the width of an arc second, and it's how we measure distances in the night sky. About half the width of the moon is how much the night sky changes in the time of 2,000 years. So in this course of 2,000 years, the night sky is relatively the same as to what it is now. With this knowledge of information about astronomy, we're able to provide a closer look into our future and to the past of the other half of our world. So my project is a closer look, and my name is Josiah Smith. So I'd like to get into why we chose the topic. So it all began with my 6th grade curiosity. In 6th grade, I really developed a passion for learning about the night sky. This came from YouTube videos, books, and just a bunch of other resources which allowed me to gain more information as to why the night sky looked the way it did. So my first telescope I purchased in 8th grade, and it was a Celestron Power Seeker with a 4-inch primary mirror. I was able to see such things as Saturn's rings, Jupiter's moons, and I actually accidentally found a nebula in my front yard, and that was a very inspiring experience. I began to ask the brave questions in the beginning of my senior year. It was August, and I needed my project approved, and I began to ask questions such as, why is my image upside down in my telescope? Why do telescopes look different? And why are some bigger and some smaller, even though some provide better images and some are not as clear? So I chose to build a reflective telescope. So I think it's important that we all understand the history and background of reflective telescopes and telescopes in general before we get into why I built my project and how telescopes work. And so the first person I'd like to start off with is Thomas Digges. Thomas Digges is Leonard Digges' son, and he essentially is the first recorded person in history in 1571 to have recognized the instruments of a reflective telescope. He mentions terms such as parabolic reflectors, eyepiece, and focal length in his book, which was finished from his father. His father's dying wish was that he would grow up in a household of education, so Thomas went on to live with his father's best buddy in college. Next, I'd like to go into Johannes Hevelius. Johannes was one of the most influential astronomers in the 1600s, and he basically provided a bunch of information observing with a refractive telescope. And one of the reasons why this refractive telescope was so efficient was it was 46 meters long. That's a long telescope. It reached from the floor of his house all the way to the top of a university. This refractive telescope began to sag under its own weight because the heavier part of the lens was at the end and would end up causing distortion. It was Isaac Newton who realized that if we wanted to further our knowledge of astronomy, we needed a new form of telescope. Therefore, he created the reflective telescope. He used a crude parabolic mirror made from polished metal, made from tungsten. This metal provided about, I would say, 40% viewability, rounding down. It was Carl von Steinhall who improved upon this. He brought Isaac Newton's reflective telescope viewability by 80%. He used such things as liquid mercury and new forms of glass and metal mixtures with tin, gold, and mercury. So I'd like to get into how reflective telescopes work. My telescope. So the focal length. The focal length is the length from your primary mirror to your secondary mirror, and is the length which brings you to the point of perfect clarity in your image. The light will bounce from the inside of the telescope where the light comes in, off the mirror, and into one spot, which is then bounced at a 45-degree angle and up into your eyepiece. Magnification. One of the reasons why I named this project A Closer Look is because it clears up a big misconception with telescopes. Telescopes do not make the light bigger to your eye. They actually bring it closer to your eye. Magnification is determined by your eyepiece millimeter divided by your focal length. So my focal length is 750 millimeters. So if I were to have a 22 millimeter eyepiece, which I believe I have on right now, I would have 750 divided by 22 magnification. So the inverted image. This was one of my great questions when I was using my telescope back in 8th grade. Essentially, I was curious as to why my image had to be upside down for it to be considered real. The reason for this being is the light will come from the top of the telescope here, bounce off, and become the bottom of your image. So what was once at the top is now the bottom, and what was once at the bottom is now the top. If you take the time to look through my telescope, you'll see this happening in real time. Closer light. As I touched on earlier, my title is A Closer Look, which clears up a big misconception about telescopes. I had always imagined that telescopes made light bigger, which was something that didn't make sense to me with reflective telescopes, because if light is bouncing, how can it become larger? This comes from my eyepiece. You can use different eyepieces for different magnifications, and with greater magnification can also come less resolution. With less magnification, you can have a higher resolution, similar to a camera. So the mechanics of telescopes. So as I touched on earlier with reflective telescopes, the telescope will reflect light coming from any object in the night sky you choose to see and into one point, and then off of your secondary mirror and into your eye. So the reasons why reflective telescopes have a greater advantage over refractive telescopes is their greater diameter. The greater diameter comes from the mirror being in the back of the tube. This is efficient because not only does it allow for a greater weight balance when you're looking in the night sky, it also provides reduction of sagging in the front, distorting your image. Collimation. Collimation is something that I had trouble with building this telescope. However, I knew it would be a challenge and I was up for it. Collimation is lining up that light to your eyepiece. This can be one of the main factors as to why many telescopes do not work. Refractive telescopes. So as opposed to reflecting light and just bouncing it, refractive telescopes actually bend light. This can cause a great problem known as chromatic aberration. So chromatic aberration comes from the fact that different colors of light have different wavelengths. So a red wavelength would be greater or shorter than a blue wavelength. When you refract light, for instance, let's say we were looking at the moon, with a refractive telescope, if not correctly collimated, you would have chromatic aberration, and is a fancy term for red, blue, and green hues around your image, therefore making it unreal. The extended focal length. This is the reason why Johannes Hevelius had a 46-meter long refractive telescope. The longer your focal length in a refractive telescope provides reduced chromatic aberration, which is one of the reasons as to why he was able to see such clear images with his refractive telescope. So creating my telescope. I like to start with the base building. So the base building was all me. I created the boards from treated pine and would eventually stain them. This took a not unreasonable amount of time. It was a very fun process and very relaxed. My tube transformation. I used a Quikrete tube, which is used for concrete making, and I layered it with fiberglass and resin. While this was an itchy process, it was very worth it. This reduces condensation and moisture building up on the outside of my tube when using it on colder nights. The budgeting. The budgeting was a very tedious process. Being consciously aware of to what all my parts would cost. One of the parts of budgeting is that whenever I would get my project approved in August, I had to create my budget and my build plan. This would mean that I had to pre-find all the parts for my telescope in August before I actually built it. The focal length. The focal length of my telescope was found by me and my mentor, Mr. Woolsey. We did this in this bottom right picture here. We took a light bulb, which is a distance from the mirror, and we would adjust the mirror to be closer or further away from the light bulb, providing a clearer image of the wording on the light bulb, which you can see on the top left picture here. The primary mirror mount. So my mirror mount was probably one of the most tedious woodworking pieces I've ever made due to its incredible precision that's required of it. I had to work with elements such as springs, tension, bolts, and all of these pieces I had never previously needed to use before in shop. My secondary mirror mount. This piece was a stinker. It was a piece that required so much precision and accuracy that I was not able to build it with the resources provided to me in the shop. Therefore, I had to resort to buying this. This was a great challenge because it ended up becoming later to my house than expected. I had been communicating with the people who make them, and they had estimated a delivery of February 14th. I got it in February 23rd, which was the day before the project was due. Collimation. Collimation is a very important factor and is one of the main reasons as to why my telescope works as well as it does. Collimation was something that took me many days and a lot of time exploring as to why some things would work and some things would not. The challenges within my project, the first and the most important was building within a budget. Over COVID, the prices of wood has gone up exponentially, but thankfully in the time of creating my project, it had gone down just a little. Of course, I did not plan to build or to buy my secondary mirror mount. This added about an extra $100, which I was not accounting for. Mirrors are also very expensive, especially for a telescope. This is just due to the fact that they are so incredibly precise and work so well and are very rare. They're not majorly produced. The clarity. So up on this top right image here is an image of what you should see of the moon with my kind of telescope, with an 8-inch primary mirror mount. And to the bottom right is what you can see with my telescope. While this may seem discouraging, it's actually very encouraging for me. I know that when scientists back in their day were creating their telescopes, it did not work the first try. So I knew that when I signed up to do this project, it would be one that would last me outside of high school. I had planned to meet with the Springfield Astronomical Society on April 25th, this past Tuesday, but I was unfortunately not able to meet with them due to a tennis match being rescheduled on that day. This was unfortunate because we were in communication and really hoping to get this focused and clear. The learning process. The learning process was immense. In the time that I chose to do this project in August, I didn't know much about telescopes at all. I had just used them in the night sky by pointing it and looking. I had to learn the terms, the right measurements. I had to learn essentially everything, and I also had to reteach myself how some of the woodworking tools work as well. Overall, I think it's important that we encourage the younger generations to really explore their curiosities, especially in astronomy, because with a closer look into how our night sky works, we're able to provide a better look as to how our future and the past of our Earth works. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions? I plan to go to MSU West Plains for my first 2 years with my A+, and I will pursue a bachelor's in business, or I will go for a master's in science and teaching. Yes, sir. So I plan to meet with the Springfield Astronomical Society again. However, they only have meetings once a month, and so I will have to wait until next month. Anyone else? Ask away. I love this thing. So in the next few days, nothing. With graduation and college algebra finals and advanced physics finals, my book is very packed. However, when I graduate, I really plan on spending a lot of time on this telescope. One of the main reasons why I was so interested in doing this project is because the mirror for the telescope I have now is 4 inches in diameter. This one is 8, which means I will be seeing double the amount of light in this new telescope. So I'm very eager to get to see some pretty cool stuff with it.
I was excited, but I didn't see it, but I kind of did, like, see the progression a little bit. The final thing. You can be a lot, right? Okay.
So. There's your microphone. It is on right now. Okay. So where do I need to put that? Just either on your lapel or just right here. Or we'll just stay on it. Sorry, world. That's not amplifying any noise in here. Okay. It's making people on YouTube hear better. Okay. I'll just put it right there. It's great. Some people put it like right here on their go? Yeah. Got about a minute and a half. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I guess. It don't matter to me. That's good.
Braden Ortega, and we're excited to hear your presentation.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Are my judges ready? Okay. Hello, my name is Braden Ortega, and I believe that building your own furniture delivers hands-on experience, time-saving, and lasts longer than purchasing your own furniture from the store. To 63% of Americans, woodworking means a skill or task of something being made out of wood. Many people don't think that is important at all. Many people will see mostly woodworkings in homes, such as furniture or decorations. It could be this could be something small, such as a baby cradle or even a chair that has been passed down by generations, or simple crafts that have been made by younger generations. The skill of woodworking is not genetic. It takes years of practice and experience to fully master. The key is to overcome those obstacles you may have and find something or discover many new ways to make something out of a piece of wood. With that being said, this leads me to my first slide. Why? Interest and challenge. So with me starting this project, it was really interesting to me. I've been wanting to build one for a while, just wanted one in general, but didn't want to go to the store and buy one. I wanted to do it myself and thought it would be a really good challenge for me. It was a challenge for me to build it. I think that I learned a lot from building it. Safety procedures. Examining and understanding your equipment, examining your materials. Before I could even start on my project, I had examined my materials and equipment. With me going into this process, there were some equipments that I knew how to use and what they did and what they were used for, such as a drill. Some equipment was a lot harder to use since I didn't know how to use them going through the process of building my epoxy table. When I bought my material, I had to examine my materials, make sure there was nothing on it, so when I run it through a planer or even a table saw, the blades or anything can catch those, resulting yourself in getting an injury. Passing down traits. Generations and skills being passed down. In woodworking, since it's been around, many generations and families have made woodworking projects. In the past, they usually pass them down to the next family member. With that, when people work together on a woodworking project, you can learn many skills and techniques that can also be passed down to you and be passed down to even your child when you get older. Bonding time, beneficial and hobby. So with bonding time, woodworking, it's very beneficial and it's a hobby. You could take it and use it as, even if you're a parent, a mother or father, you could take that and use that with your children to make something, and that can just show your child that you guys both have something interesting
and you're there spending quality time with them. Even if your child enjoys it, it just lets you know that you're both there enjoying something you both love doing. Creativity, being open-minded and expanding your choices. Going into woodworking, there are simple things that you could build, like just a simple chair or a table. When you go into building a project or think about building one, you want to expand your choices. You don't want to settle for less. There's a lot of things you can do and build just without something being simple. It makes it more better for you. It gives you what you want, not just anything plain. Cheaper than buying. Building your own furniture is cheaper and saving money. So with this being said, if you go to a furniture store and you end up wanting to buy a furniture, most of it's going to be pretty cheap and it's not going to be what you want. Saving money, if you buy something from a furniture store, it's not going to be what you want. When you build your own furniture, you can save money because it's how you want it to be built. It's the way you want it to be designed. It's just what you want in general. And with durability, when you go buy something from furniture stores, their durability, you have some places that are going to be somewhat okay. You have some places that if you buy a furniture, it's not very good material. So when you build it yourself, you can get it the quality of durability you want for it to being built, so that way it lasts longer and it's structured for a while. My product was an ocean epoxy table, which is this. As you can see, that is a different tabletop than this one. We had a little mess up and it ended up breaking, but we got this one rebuilt. This first one took 35 to 40 hours, and I roughly spent about $350 to $400 on it, just for the whole thing being built. Safety procedures. I ended up gathering my materials and buying all my materials for it, such as my frame to start with. I sanded and torched the bottom frame here, made sure I clear coated it 5 times so that way it could give it a glass look, so that way it wasn't just plain torched, nothing really that good on it. Ordered my epoxy table for my tabletop offline, made sure it came in. After this, I built a frame for my epoxy and my cedar slab to go in, so that way nothing was leaking, everything was a nice finished flush around. I planed my cedar slabs down to the right thickness of what I wanted it to be. I didn't want it too thick or too thin. So I got it right where I wanted it. I ended up putting those into the cedar slab, made sure everything fits, made sure there was no leaks, and that way I could pour the epoxy. I started pouring the epoxy and the pigment together, made sure everything was equally mixed, made sure it was the color I wanted, and after that I poured it into my frame and heated it up and made sure there was no bubbles in it and that it cured up safely. After that, after it was heated up, there was a little bit of residue on it. There was not what you want on it, so we ended up taking it and planing it down to the thickness that I wanted it, just to get enough where you can see the flush epoxy and the residue off there. After this, the ends of the corners was a little rough, so we bought corner trim and torched and clear coated those so that way it can match the bottom frame. After that, we screwed it down to the tabletop and polished it, made sure it looked good. Challenges, time management and experience. These two were mostly a big challenge for me going into this project. With time, even though I was building it here at school, mostly I was working, and then after that I got switched and was working on the weekends, so it was kind of hard to find a time schedule. That wasn't even the only time management I had. When I ordered my epoxy, that was when the bad weather winter hit, and it was supposed to be here for 2 or 3 days, and it ended up taking quite longer than that. So I had to just be patient and wait on it for it to come in, which that kind of took my time to go as long as I didn't want to. Experience. This was a challenge in building this. When I started building this with my mentor, we both didn't really have any much experience in building one, but it was a learning process. Pouring the epoxy in and mixing it, that was the hardest process. I really didn't, going into this, really didn't think that it was going to be that bad or that difficult. But after pouring it, it turned out it was pretty harder than what I thought it was going to be. there are a lot of things that I've learned throughout the process of building my epoxy table, such as skills being learned and the knowledge to know how to build it. Even though I didn't know how to build it, it let me use it allowed me to have a hands-on experience while still having fun doing it. I suggest when you think about building a project, make sure you find something you love and enjoy doing. Even though you don't have a lot of experience in that field, it just makes it more fun to learn how and what to do while still going through building your product or project. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions? Yes. Yeah. Just keep it as a hobby. Yes. There are little changes. The first one, it wasn't this nice. We had no experience. So this one we learned how and what to do better. And the cedar slabs are a little bit different. They're more better. They got holes in these ones, unlike the other ones. And this tabletop came out a lot better than my other one did. It is, yes. I would say that's mainly the structure of this table is the epoxy tabletop itself, so it was quite a bit. Thank you. Yeah, I will. You're welcome. Good job.
Everybody.
Great.
I will be there. Did he get you any food? No, Anna brought me like a huge plate.
Did you ever run into Terry?
Yeah, I did.
Did
It's
you
like
say hi?
attached to the top and I've already dropped some. Look, I did it again.
Here's it. Here. Okay.
So what day did you say? I will be there, yes.
Good luck person.
You get to wear this to yeah, just right there somewhere in the lapel, even out here. YouTube land can hear you. Man. Huh? I don't know. Y'all just popped out of nowhere. So I thought there was just gonna be just judges in here. And then, oh no, I said Emma could come. I was like, mine's gonna be in there. I was like, okay, I'm coming now. And Emma's grandma showed up. And I don't mind. Nate's family was like, hey, can I say this? Join the club. As long as I don't run a blank, I ran through it down there and it was pretty smooth. As long as I was just like, I want to. Every time I hit the ceiling. Is it still raining outside? You just like look out the window.
Is it too long to do?
Yeah, probably. Maybe. I could maybe like. I'm not. If it's a ceiling, it's a ceiling. They got replacement tiles. It's fine. I have another judge. Oh, so many judges. Got 8 judges? Man, how did I draw the short straw?
But in looking,
Are they? I know. 4 of them. The other ones I have no idea.
I can do.
Yeah, probably.
Doing, but
Can I try it just to see what like looks best?
the middle one.
Go with that. Yep. Thank you. I didn't have my bolo to start with. Miss Martin, show up in. Where's I gonna get?
All right, this is Gavin Ferguson, and we're excited to hear his presentation. Gavin?
Are my judges ready? When you sit down in the evening to eat dinner and you look at your plate, do you ever ask yourself the question, where's all this food come from? The answer in almost every case is from the calloused hands of farmers. 80% of what you eat comes from farms. Most people don't think about this, or the hard work farmers put into not just feeding you, but the entire world. They sometimes undervalue farmers and farming in itself. They don't realize that farming is the backbone of this nation and it's what keeps it afloat. Hello, my name is Gavin Ferguson. I'm here to tell you that farming, whether it is crop farming or livestock farming, is not only important, but essential to everyone's way of life. But why did I choose farming? For me, it was very simple. As some of you know, I've grown up on a cattle farm my entire life, and it's worked itself into being a very important part of my life. Some people that live or work on a farm just go through the motions and don't really take to heart what they're doing. This was me at first, but thanks to great influences in my life, such as my dad and my grandpa, I was able to have a greater appreciation for what I was doing. They taught me that even though you may not think about it as a small town farmer, the work you're doing benefits others. This caused me to have a great appreciation and grow a passion for what I was doing. So when it came to choosing my research paper, it was really simple. I wanted to do something I was not only passionate about, but knowledgeable about, and something I really connected to. I wanted to enlighten people about the importance of farming, so what better to write about than the importance of farming. As far as my product goes, I wanted to do something not only correlated to farming, but also challenged me, as farming is a very challenging endeavor. This is why I chose to create a 12-plated bullet, but before I get into that, I'd like to share some of the research I did about the importance of farming, starting with our history. As Americans, farming is very important to our history. As soon as we landed on the East Coast from Europe, we were farmers. Rich or poor, in some manner of fashion, we were all farmers. But farming back then was so much different than it is now. It was all done by hand. There were no big heavy machines to get the job done quicker, easier, and more efficient. Although there were draft animals, and they were efficient at what they did, they consumed over 22% of all cropland harvested between 1880 and 1890. This put great limitations on what farmers could produce, how many people they could feed, and how much money they could bring in. Unlike today, where farmers are not just feeding you, or your city, or your state, or even your nation, but the entire world. Like I stated earlier, 80% of what you eat comes from farms. This is not a United States of America statistic, it's a world statistic. Also, that being said, if 80% of what you eat comes from farms, it also has to have a play on our economics. Just here alone in America in 2017, farming accounted for $425 billion in United States revenue. And in 2020, it up to $463 billion, and it continues to climb every single year. So farming not just has an important role in feeding everyone, but also upkeeping our economic system as well. And in doing my product, in doing all this research, I wanted to do a product that really pushed my limits, and like I said earlier, challenged me, as farming is a very challenging endeavor. This is why I chose to create a 12-plated bullet. But before I get into my bullet, I'd like to clear up a misconception about whips. Whips are not used for physically beating of the animal. It's used to project sound in one way or another to divert the herd of cows or horses, whatever animal you're farming, to go to the direction you want them to go. Some different styles and types of bullets. Higher end bullets are going to be made out of kangaroo hide leather. It's a very high quality leather. The lower end is going to be made out of cowhide leather, which is kind of a lower quality leather and it's not as durable. So I chose to meet somewhere in the middle and make mine out of paracord. Mine's also 12-plated and 6-foot. Now I'll explain what that means in the following construction steps, which I think is a very interesting and intriguing process, starting with the handle. Inside the handle is a steel rod. As you notice, it's not pliable like the rest of the whip. The steel rod is coated in 10-ounce leather that tapers on until around here, around 3 foot. Throughout this whole presentation, when I say I tapered something, it's for the benefit of making the whip crack lighter and easier. Back to the handle. On the inside of the 10-ounce leather is 6 tapered strands of loaded paracord. Loaded paracord means it still contains those 7, 8 yarn-like strands that gives it its circular straight shape and durability. That is basically the finished part of the first part of the inner core. The second part was coating all that. I did that by braiding 8-plaited gutted paracord into this whip. 8-plaited means I used 8 different strands to braid in a specific fashion that was adequate in holding everything together. Gutted, like I said earlier, gutted is the exact opposite of what I said earlier. Earlier I talked about the 7 to 8 yarn-like strands that were inside the paracord, giving it circular shape and durability. Those were taken out for this process in order for the paracord to lay flat and give the whip its shape. This leads right into the outer core of the whip. The outer core is almost the exact same as the inner core except two different things, color and strand amount. I mentioned earlier that this was called a 12-plated bullwhip. That's because I used 12 strands instead of 8, like the inside. The inside, as you can see, was also black. The outside was green and black because I thought it was very appealing to the eye. Green and black. Because I thought it was very appealing to the eye, and it was always the color of whip I shot for when I was looking for a whip to get myself. That's the only difference between the inner and outer core. After I got this done, I only had a couple of steps to finish my bullwhip, starting with the fall. If you can see from there, this is around a foot-long piece of loaded paracord, and it serves a function in tying at the end of the bullwhip to the beginning of the cracker. The cracker is a simple piece of string, twisted and knotted at the end with these two tails on the end. This whole function right here serves a purpose in breaking the sound barrier and creating that sound that bullwhips are known for. Only thing I had to do with was weigh the handle and put a stopper on the handle and the butt of the handle. I did this by doing a fishtail braid. If you can see from there, the green part has a more prominent fishtail braid than the end. After this is all said and done, I had a bullwhip that I could not only admire but also use on the farm. But it didn't come without some adversity. My main challenge was strand management. As you know, if you've ever braided hair, keeping hold of those 3 different strands can prove to be very challenging. Imagine doing that with 8 or 12 different strands all the way up to 20 foot long. This proved very challenging for me, and sometimes I'd be 2 to 3 hours in and realize that I didn't keep my same braiding pattern at the very beginning and I had to restart. This is very frustrating and honestly pushed my patience a ton, and it took so much more time than I thought it was going to take. My next problem was weighting the handle. This is not the traditional way a whip maker would weigh the handle. The traditional way is a Turk's head knot. In my opinion, the Turk's head knot looks a lot better than the fishtail braid, but it doesn't give it as much weight. So in the end, I guess it worked out for the best at giving it more weight. My final problem kind of goes hand in hand with my first problem, is holding everything together. Of course, when I was braiding everything, I had a problem holding it together. But the main part of the whip I had a problem holding everything together was this end right here. As you can tell, there's a fishtail braid over the end, and I did that because after I got done with my whip, I thought it was adequate enough to hold everything together. But I went outside and started to crack it, and I noticed everything starting to fall apart. This is very discouraging, but I thought on my feet and tied a fishtail braid over the end that has served its purpose in holding everything together. At the end of the day, I can honestly say this has been one of the hardest projects I've ever done, but it's so gratifying knowing that in 5 to 10 years, or even now, I can look back on the whip and it represents not just the hard work I put into it, but the hard work farmers are putting into what they do every single day. Farming plays a tremendous role in feeding the entire world and upkeeping our economic system. And my hope is that in listening to this presentation, you have a greater idea and appreciation for farming and realize just how important and essential it is, but also the hardships and challenges they face. And overall, have a greater appreciation for our farmers today. Thank you. Then my judges have any questions. Yep. I thought about it as a side hobby, mainly because I have this one for my own personal whip, but you can sell these anywhere from $500 to $1,200. So it'd be a nice side hobby, a little side hustle. Oh man. I have to replace some ceiling tiles, but oh man, I'm really worried it's gonna hit the ceiling. I'll do it anyway. Probably as loud as it's going to get, because I think I marked up the ceiling pretty good.
only part where I screwed up is I forgot to click the button on my slides. I don't think anybody noticed, but I just started going. See you later. All right. You're about. Nobody? Was it Colton? Yeah. Yeah, I can. Right. Right? Yeah, I just had to.
Using the right products.
Go ahead and give your mic.
Oh, awesome. Can you maybe help me?
Try.
I think my nails just kind of.
A little bit lower. Right there. Is that okay?
I don't care either way. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Go ahead and actually, if I'm doing this, this is Miss Isabella Davis, and we're excited to hear her about her project. So take it away when you're ready.
Are my judges ready? The nursing profession is in a major crisis. Many nurses are leaving the profession because of their mental health issues, the staffing shortages, and the working conditions that they are put under. Sarah Fenn said that 18% of the nurses left their jobs last year, which is 16% higher than the year prior. Hi, my name is Isabella Davis, and many people have the misconception that nursing is easy and just an easy pass job for anybody. I've been wanting to become a nurse ever since I was a really young kid, and every time that I say this, many people say, oh, that's good, there's not enough nurses, or they'll say, are you sure that you want to do that? This left me having to question, why isn't there enough nurses, and why is it that people are trying to deter me from something that I may enjoy in my future? Nurses deal with their mental health every day. This job is very high in anxiety. For example, you may be the only nurse taking care of 10 patients on one floor of the hospital. It's also a very frantic and fast-paced work environment. You have to think fast on your feet and know exactly what you're doing because you have lives that you're going to have to take care of. This also affects nurses' self-esteem, and many nurses who have been in the field for 20 to 40 years say that they see new nurses come in who are excited and ready to start while they are feeling tired and out of love with the job that they have once loved. So because many nurses are leaving, there are staffing shortages that come with this. And facilities are having trouble retaining the nurses because they are so unhappy. And because of this, there is no new hires. Put yourself in the position of being a nurse. You hear nurses that have worked in the facility that you want to work at, and they said that they are unhappy, they aren't getting paid fair wages, and so they leave the profession. You're not going to work in that profession either. I mean, I know that I wouldn't. So like I mentioned before, they're getting paid fair wages. The workload that they have isn't right to the ratio of what they do. And many nurses are comparing to this comparing this to people who work on social media, people that you're getting entertainment from are getting paid more than they are who are saving lives. The working conditions that nurses are put under aren't always bad, but there are higher chances of infection, like getting AIDS or hepatitis, or even COVID, than somebody who is working in a cubicle. The work schedule is also very sporadic. You could be working long days, long nights, and many nurses are saying that they feel as if they are working 24 to 48-hour shifts, which this may be an exaggeration, but they work very hard days. There is also a study done in China where they asked over 100 nurses whether or not they dealt with workplace violence, and 100% of them said yes. Many of them said that they dealt with this with their coworkers. There's a big ego trip problem that is with the medical field, and many people who have God complexes who want to feel like they are doing better than you are, or you're going to have to deal with physical and verbal abuse from your patients. Many nurses discuss this in a nursing home environment where patients have dementia and they feel like you're a danger to them rather than being a help. So why is it that people feel this way? Why is it that people have this misconception that nursing is easy? It's because it's an easy access job, and this means that no matter what you do, where you go, you'll be able to get a job. You move to a different city, that's okay, you can get a job. If you move to a different state, that's okay, you can get a job. It's a very high demand of nurses, and so no matter what, you are able to get a job. You can be employed. Many people also use the phrase that it's a dying profession. While I was doing my research, I saw this constantly, but they never would really elaborate on this, so I came to the conclusion for myself that many people came to this conclusion because so many nurses are leaving because of their mental health. They are leaving because they're having trouble feeding their families, and they are leaving because of the working conditions. So this led me to my product. I decided to do a 40-hour apprenticeship because I'm not much to make something with my hands or make a tangible object. Maybe a lot of the people in my class did, which is okay, but it wasn't something that was going to excite me like this would. So when I came up with this idea, I talked to Deborah Sheehan, and she was more excited to get me started with it. It was a lot of paperwork to get started with, like certification tests or my background check and my vaccination test, but once I was able to do that, I was able to get started. I was able to learn a lot. I was able to learn things like taking blood pressure, taking height and weight, checking your temperature, easy, simple things. And I was also able to watch a black recluse bite go from beginning to end and watch how it reduced in size, and I was also able to help clear out an ulcer. Both things very disgusting and maybe not something that everybody would want to see, but it was very interesting to me, and I would totally do it again. I did face a lot of problems in the beginning of my project. In the beginning, like I said, I had to turn in a lot of paperwork, like my certification tests. But while I was turning that in, that was all via email. So the coordinator would always say that I didn't turn in everything or that I needed to turn in more, and evidently my mentor just had to email them and say that I could get started. This left me being 3 months behind, so I had to use a lot of my free time to catch up on my hours that I had lost because it was a 40-hour apprenticeship. Once I was able to get started, I had to learn how to get over myself. Going into a room and not really understanding all the terms that the doctor or even the patient was using was pretty intimidating. But once I realized that that's what I was there for, that's what an apprenticeship is, it was okay for me to ask questions. I was able to learn a lot more and a lot faster. Because I was able to create bonds and relationships with the nurses that do work at the clinic, I was able to really get a deep dive in what the mental health struggles that they face, the staffing shortages that even happen here in Willow Springs, and the working conditions that maybe they don't have to deal with, but maybe they had dealt with prior or with coworkers that they had worked with prior as well. I came to the conclusion that the nursing profession is not easy at all, but it is filled with dedicated workers that are met with unfortunate circumstances. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions? So I had to take like HIPAA tests, so then they would know that I wouldn't discuss anything that I did with the patients. I also had to learn how to use their technology before I did get started and how to be clean whenever I was there, stuff like that. I hope to be able to get my BSN degree after I graduate. I'll be attending MSU Springfield after I leave, and I want to become a travel nurse whenever I do get my degree.
Probably the ER. More exciting things, and then maybe later on in life, be like in a clinic setting or slowed down. Yay! Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
Yes, I will take that. Yes.